Hey, what's going on? It's me, Shaun. I want to say first of all that Kathy Lee Gifford from Good Morning America, today was her last day, and I watched her from the 1980s when she was with Regis Philbin, and all of the shows that she made, and it was so wonderful waking up to her bright smile and intuitiveness and great intelligence and fun and high spirit and spiritualism. And it was great to see you out there, Kathleen. You may never ever see this, but I want to say you made great beginnings for me and for my mom, who also watched during all those times. She's passed now, but um, it was wonderful seeing you. Have a great life, and I very much enjoyed your pronunciations. Moving on, I want to talk now about cars. Um, I think that there are so many accidents in, let's talk about New York City. I live here in New York City, so that's what I want to stay with. There's so many wrecks, crashes with cars. It's uh, it's so difficult to fathom why there is a navigational system interpolated in new cars, probably since, oh, I don't know, 2000, I'm going to say 2015 and up to now, up to present date. Um, and we have so many cars with crashes in the cities, cars driving into homes and driving into schools and driving into businesses and having incursions on the highway. And I can't understand how this is happening. I really don't think that people are are that bad of drivers, and I think that all these incursions are happening not because people are texting or talking. I think people really uh, divorce themselves from doing that on the whole, and I think it's more that the cabal is sending computations to the computers in the car. You know, every car nowadays has a great CPU that's interpolated in the car, and it's very easy to hack. I don't think outsiders are hacking it. I think this is done on a very high level. And I think it's a deliberate attempt to say that cars are unsafe. Why are they doing that? Especially since they manufacture cars. Why are they uh, downing cars? I think it's this. I think that we're ready now, or the cabal is ready for us to move to a different platform. You know, this is the 21st century. This is a time just before the New World Order. And I think part of the New World Order is to sweep everything old away and move on to a new platform, completely different from anything that's ever happened before in history. I think cars a part of that, and I think that it's a sabotage by the cabal to do this to cars, to send computation, directional computation to computations to automobiles. Uh, and that is because the navigational system and the CVTs in cars are not meant for this particular society that we presently live. I think that we're on a cusp of um, flying cars. And I think that the flying cars, the instruments are the CVT, which will take which will, in private planes and all planes in actuality, there's the yoke, which is the steering wheel, and then there are the ailerons, which are the pedals. Now, in airplanes, the ailerons have nothing to do with gas and brake. They have everything to do with the flaps on the wings of airplanes. And if you study airplanes, I like Flight Simulator because for many years I wasn't able to travel anywhere. So I like the program Flight Simulator by Microsoft, and I could travel to China, I could travel to uh, different places in the world and see the different areas because I love to travel, and I wasn't able to do anything really for a very uh, large percentage of my life since the 1990s. And so Flight Simulator for me got me above the clouds, and I felt like a bird. It was really, really wonderful to have. So I also learned that the ailerons and the yoke are quite different in airplanes than they are in automobiles. Now, to gas an airplane, in other words, to make the airplane move, you have, I'm going to say for lack of a better verb, the stick, which is the gas for the airplane. And so you have the gas on the side, which in cars is this stick shift, whether it's automatic or manual, which is a stick shift that moves the car in different degrees of shifts, let's say. So first and second and reverse and drive and neutral. So on an airplane, you have the gas, which is up here. I hope you can see me. The gas, which is up here, and then the ailerons, which are manipulated by the foot pedals, and then the yoke, which is the steering wheel. So all of that's in airplanes, and then in a car there's the steering wheel, the gas, and the brake, and then the stick shifter. Now, in modern cars, you have all this navigational system, and navigations are projected from the satellites, where satellites are specifically stationed in outer space, and they beam down uh, and reflect um, information to and from automobiles. So you have that aspect, and I believe, like I said, that we're on a cusp of flying cars. Um, Adversely, throughout automobile history, there was the automatic, which came first in all cars, no matter where you lived in America or throughout the world. The manual shift came first. There was the automatic. Now, in America, we as Americans really didn't like the manual shift for a great percentage of time, and the auto industry very much listened to us, so they're weeding us off, or have weaved us off the manual shift. Manual shift now is only in performance cars, say like I think every model really has a manual shift, but the auto industry really isn't making manual transmissions anymore. They're weeding us off of that. So now we have what's called is the CVT. Now the CVT makes no sense at all. If you want an automatic car, it's just automatic. You don't really need the CVT. CVT, you depress your gas and you manipulate the stick shift, um, which brings you from first to second to third. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you have an automatic. What I think is propagating here is manual shift is teaching, or CVT shifting is teaching uh, Americans how to manipulate the first workings of an airplane, of a private plane, of a flying car. That's what the CVT, and they're not going to tell you this. They're just weeding you on to this particular information. Um, Again, if you have an automatic, it stays automatic. If you have a manual shift, which is now probably only in like Dodge cars, high performance cars, and in a lot of cars, you cannot get a manual shift. Again, why would you make a CVT car when you have automatic? It doesn't make any sense. And again, with the CVT, and I hate to reiterate myself, but I'm trying to make myself very clear. With the CVT, you depress the gas pedal and you do not come off of that, and you just shift, right? So you're manipulating the car in different shifts from one to, you can go up to six or to eight gears. And it doesn't make any sense at all. I want to also say that cars are no longer being, and I don't understand this, cars are no longer being promoted by their engine blocks. It used to be The advertisers would say this particular car has a 2.4 engine or a 4.6 engine or a V6 or 6 in line or a V8 engine, depending on what make and model you would get. They're no longer saying that. For a very long time now, they're only talking about navigation. So that's putting into the minds of citizens or people, the public, that it's all about navigation, navigation, navigation. You can get Waze navigation. You can get uh, 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 oh my gosh, what is the word for it? Amazon navigation. You can get Siri in your car. You can get all this navigational prowess. They're not talking about the makes. They're not talking about the struts of the car. They're not talking about the different models you can get, the different makes you can get. Well, they're talking about the different makes and models, but they're not talking about the engine block. They're not even talking about the safety aspect. They have weaned themselves off of the car industry has of talking about airbags. Now they're talking about it a little bit, but for the most part, it's all about navigation, navigation, navigation. So with the CVT and with the navigation, you have the beginnings of the flying cars. This is what's going to manipulate you through the skies. The navigation will tell you uh, what degree or level you are uh, uh, in your private flying car. And I think this will come about also. It's a one-two punch. So many people all over the world are concerned with the Max 8 uh, 7 was a 737 Max 8 and its difficulty with the flying aspect of it. It's really hard to say this, but I think the industry, Boeing specifically, is now saying, well, how can we make more money with flying entities? You know, we can put 1,000 people in an airplane and send them from New York to Paris and New York to London and the like, but how do we make more money? It's always about more money with different industries and companies and firms. It's all about money, 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 money. I think that this is the beginning of people realizing that planes and has not been for many, many years. People are afraid to fly. A great percentage of us are afraid of even turbulence. Even with myself, I'm afraid of turbulence. And I'll spend 7 hours on an airplane when I used to fly and be petrified with turbulence and falling out of the sky. And you know, it's just a horrific thing to feel for 7 or 8 hours when you're in an airplane and you have no control over it whatsoever. Adversely, people are going to really, I believe, start being more intuitive and saying that they want greater control of airplanes. I think that the industry, both the car industry and the airplane industry, will start to merge, if they haven't already, contractually, and bring out the flying car. Now, the flying car is not a new concept. When I was a kid, back in the 1960s, um, on Life magazine, there were drawings of flying cars and moving sidewalks, and and it said in the 1990s, uh, all of these things, flying cars and moving sidewalks, would be the norm, especially in New York City, and that never came to fruition. And we, as New Yorkers, figured, oh well, you know, people are stealing money, so we're never going to get that. The mayor is stealing money, the governor is stealing money, and all of the budget that was set for modern technology is gone. That's what we figured. And then the industry came out and said, the government came out and said that, you know, it's you guys can't even drive cars. You think we're going to put flying cars in the air? So I think that it's a one-two punch. I think with the CVT and with the navigation, this will bring the first flying cars. I think flying cars will appear in the late year 2020. I think that, but like I keep saying, it's a one-two punch. So it's not going to be that technology really is not going to be for the standard citizen that's living now. What do I mean by that? This is the 21st century. The New World Order is coming very quickly, and you know that, or you should know that, along with uh, the New World Order contracts, and I have other videos about contracts and how the New World Order restart and the platforms. With the RFID chip, the radio frequency identification chip that they're going to put in everybody's right hand, and for some reason, if you don't get that chip, then you're going to get the barcode. But that's going to correlate with the satellites. Satellites have navigation, so it's going to be, again, one-two punch. They're going to be half human, half uh, computer, CPU. You're going to be considered a cyborg, and you're going to be very closely paired with the CPU and satellites navigation. Then you'll be able to have your flying car, because computers really make no mistakes. When you're made of silicon, you don't have the humanistic qualities or emotions or feelings, um, and you're going to be uh, a more perfect entity. And that's what the cabal wants. They really want humans that are cyborgs. Cyborgism is not a new concept. Look at the television show The $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. Again, the cabal gives you the truth about the future one time, and they put it in science fiction. It's no such thing as science fiction. It's really science fact. But they don't promote it like that. They have lied to us for decades. So if you want to look at, you know, what the first human cyborg um, or artificial intelligence will be, it will be humans with the RFID chip. Again, look at the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. You can look at those on Hulu. Um, you can download Hulu and look at those two television shows from the 1970s. So we have the 1960s with the flying cars and the moving sidewalks, and that was projected by the cartoon for kids called The Jetsons. The Jetsons had flying cars, they had moving sidewalks, they had artificial intelligence. Uh, they had the new kitchens where everything was computerized. When you look at George Jetson and his wife in the kitchen, Rosie, which was a computer, which was a robot, was doing everything in the kitchen. They had electronic things making their food for them and bringing it up. And um, you could watch that on Hulu, but I wanted to say also George Jetson communicated with his boss over a big screen TV. And so all of that was futuristic stuff that we kids loved in the 1960s. And it's coming very, very late. The technology is, but it's here and it's coming, and there's really no stopping it. So cars are going to be flying cars. Um, with the RFID chip, the radio frequency identification chip, you're going to be closely matched with satellites in the sky, which also uh, project navigational systems down to your flying cars and other things. Like artificial intelligence in your house projected by 5G. Don't think that 4G and 5G are just there for your Wi-Fi and for your cable. And I want to continue, but I want to make sure that I have everything down here. Now, humans will be AI. We will be the artificial intelligence, again with the RFID chip, with the chemtrails that are projecting nanoparticles on our food, water, soil, um, and we will be. what's called or what's known as cyborgs. I just want to make sure that I have everything that I wrote about. The CVT engine, don't forget that, is really the first workings of the flying car, along with the navigational system or the nav package. And all of these car crashes that we're seeing is purposeful by the car industry so that they can bring forth the flying car. And those accidents that are happening are not the fault of the people driving the cars. Um, People are quite intuitive when they're driving. A great percentage of us no longer text, and it's against the law. We do not text, we do not talk on the phone, so we are not disturbed by outside sources, and we can drive and listen to music, or drive and listen to talk shows and the like. So I think that the cabal is sending uh, computational instructions to the CPU of the car to wreck uh, the cars, so that it will come out that drivers or people, citizens, or don't know how to drive anymore. They're going to totally erase cars. What are they going to put in replacement of the cars? In addition to the flying car, is the city bike. Now, the city bike has been in existence for a great many years. Um, City bike is a bike that you rent. It's in a stall. Everybody knows what that is here in New York, and elsewhere also. And bike lanes have been in existence, I would say, since the late 1980s, about that. So everything comes slow, but it comes insofar as the New World Order is concerned. So they're refurbishing everything. Um, so they want, the cabal really wants New York especially to look like China. China, there are so in the Far East have so many bicycle riders and scooter riders, uh, that this is what New York will really, really look like. You won't have cars. The only people that are going to have cars are uh, the fire department and the police department will get uh, a beefed up navigational car uh, system, and they will be the only ones that are left on the road. So you're going to have your police, you're going to have your fire department. They're going to have the cars. Citizens, we will be uh, thought of by the cabal as citizens, citizens of the state, citizens of the New World Order, citizens of the 21st century. So bikes and scooters are going to be by the conglomerate City Bike. You know, City Bike has no competitors here in the city whatsoever. In fact, in California, e-bikes are illegal. So if the police see you delivering food or anything and you're riding an e-bike, your e-bike is confiscated and you're arrested, and you have a tariff to pay to the city and the state for having an e-bike. E-bikes in New York, they in the very beginning were confiscating e-bikes, but they're kind of, the police department is really not arresting people or confiscating e-bikes anymore. It's basically people who are delivering food, but that is what the platform will be. City Bike will be the only type of bikes that there will be. You, even if you buy a bike to use in the rest of the 21st century, going on to the 22nd century, it will be outlawed. You will have to have a city bike contract and account, and you will have your city bike, and they will know by navigation where you are in any part of the city uh, with that city bike. And so that's what the citizens of New York will be traveling on: bikes, scooters, and then later, at the end of at the end of 2020, they will introduce the flying cars. And so this has been a very long video, and I thank you so much for your time and patience. I would like for you to subscribe, like, and share all of my videos, and have a great day.